We're here with Tammy Leininger, the nursing home administrator here at St. Paul's Continuing Care Community in Greenville, Pennsylvania. So, Tammy, thank you for meeting with me.
You're welcome.
I'm going to start out generally with a general question. How did you start out in this field?
Well, I actually started with a bachelor's degree in speech pathology. I was actually concentrating on audiology. Knew that I needed to have some healthcare experience on my resume as I was trying to build my resume, so I came to St. Paul's to work as a nurse's aide as I was going through my bachelor's degree work. And so then when I came here to work, I fell in love with long-term care. I fell in love with the residents, and I knew that that's where I needed to be. So when it came time in the speech pathology program, you have to have a master's. So I knew I had to go for my master's either way, so I went to Miami University of Ohio, not for speech pathology. I actually started looking at schools that had the degree in gerontology and looking at nursing home administration as the track, and they had 3 tracks there, and that's the track I chose. And so then I knew at that point in time that's where I needed to be, so that's how I started in the field. And then I was able to come back and do my administrator in training here at St. Paul's, and then got hired when I was done with school.
So fast forwarding now, you're in the administrator seat obviously, and could you describe for me a typical work day, knowing that every day, no 2 days are alike, but.
Yeah, that was the hardest question for me as I looked to see how I might anticipate questions, but there is no typical work day. I think primarily my typical work day, I come and first focus is occupancy and admissions. We have a daily admissions meeting. We talk about residents who are discharging, residents who are being admitted. We look at payer mix, all of the business aspects of occupancy. And then from there, it's, it could be anything. It can be anything from disaster planning that you saw today. It could be more social services related to what the residents' needs are. It can be more business associated with regard to, the income and expenses of the facility or the departments. It's really driven by the department heads that report to me too. I have life enrichment, dining services, nursing services, and housekeeping services. They all report to me, so it depends upon what their priority lists are for the day. So I'm pretty flexible, but I'm also driven by the meetings and the projects, quality improvement projects, or whatever the priorities of the day are.
So simply, what do you find most enjoyable about your job day to day?
Without a question, it's the residents. That's what made me fall in love with long-term care. And I always say that when I'm having a particularly bad day, that's where I go spend time with the residents, because they always remind me why I'm here. And that's, if they didn't need us, we wouldn't be here. So that's what I find most enjoyable.
So when you're having one of those bad days, what kind of challenges can you share with us that?
Well, the challenges probably, regulatory compliance survey, because a lot of that is interpretation, and sometimes you can feel kind of beat up, by the survey process, or by challenges. You try to please everyone, whether it's residents, families, staff, regulators, you name it. You're trying to please everybody, and on any given day you might not be as successful as you want to be with that, and sometimes you feel like you're banging your head against the wall. One of the other bigger challenges too, I think, is from an HR standpoint, recruiting and retaining staff, and that's always a big priority, is making sure you have the human resources to take care of the residents.
Right. So for those of you that don't know, the baby boomer population is from 1946 to 1964, and they're now entering that age where long-term care might be a road for them. And do you think the field is growing enough so that there's enough people that can get jobs, or do you think that the field is growing too much and there's not enough people to fill the positions?
Right, I think the field is huge, and I think there's not enough people to fill the positions. So I think one of our priorities here at St. Paul's has been to really try to inspire people to choose aging services as a field of choice. And as we have a relationship with Teal College too, and we're always trying to encourage those resident or students to get engaged in life out here. Because whether it's you're working in business or marketing, purchasing, social services, psychology, you name it, there's a path to working with seniors. And it's a very rewarding field, and it's definitely a growing field because the number of folks that are gonna need long-term care services, whether it's in a nursing home, personal care, assisted living, home and community-based services, adult daycare centers, you name it, home health care. The number of older folks who are going to need services in one of those capacities is only gonna grow.
So, with looking at the industry, obviously with the baby boomers coming up, I mentioned it's changing dramatically. What types of things have you seen at St. Paul's that you feel have changed over the last 5 years, and then looking into the future?
Probably the biggest thing I've seen change is the type of resident that we see in the nursing home. We saw the change that, having worked previously in personal care and coming to the nursing home, the types of residents that we see in personal care today are the types of residents that used to be in nursing homes. And the types of residents that need to be in nursing homes are the ones that used to be in the hospital. So nursing homes are being asked to be much more medically equipped and able to take more of an acutely ill resident. We've tried to strategically plan for that, and the fact that the hospital transitional care center closed, so we've adapted here to create a transitional care center here, a short stay neighborhood here. But I think probably one of the biggest challenges is the expectations of the consumers haven't changed, because if someone has mom or dad at home and they need care, but they don't have the resources to pay for that care, either home and community-based services or personal care or assisted living, they come to the nursing home because that's where they always used to put mom or dad was in the nursing home, and the state Medicaid program would pay for it. And that piece hasn't really caught up with itself yet. So they still have the expectation that mom or dad can go to the nursing home, and right now they still can, but that's changing, and we're trying to be ahead of that change and trying to educate the consumer that they don't need to be in a nursing home, they can be in personal care, or they can be at home with home and community-based services.
Can you just explain real quick what personal care is and how it differs from nursing home care?
Sure. Personal care really is, they have their own apartment, they furnish their own apartment, they still come and go as they please, but they have the security of knowing somebody's outside their door 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can get assistance with their medication management, and they can get assistance with all of their activities of daily living. So they can get help getting dressed, they can help getting bathed, meals are provided, light housekeeping's provided. At the point where they would need to come to the nursing home is when they need probably the care of 2 people to assist with transfers. They need assistance with their meals being fed, or they need technical medical care that the staff in a personal care setting might not have the expertise, the nursing per se, to be able to provide that, and then they would come over to the nursing home.
So now, when you have a position open in this facility, what types of things are you looking for in a potential new hire that would fit in with this environment?
I think what we always say is that we really try to look for attitude, because you can't teach attitude. You can teach the skills associated with the job, but if you have someone who is really good relational skills with people, they've done their homework, they've researched a little bit about the organization, they're enthusiastic, you may see them interact with some of the residents that you're caring for, and they're, like I said, they have good interpersonal skills, then that's the kind of person that we look for here, because honestly, you can't train that. You can teach the skills that are required for the job.
Now, in the field itself, are there any professional journals and organizations that someone that's interested in the field or someone that is in the field, this is like vital information that they should be aware of?
Sure. St. Paul's is a not-for-profit organization. We're part of Leading Age, which is a national association of services and facilities for aging that are nonprofit. Then there's Leading HPA, which is a Pennsylvania, it's the state association that's part of the national organization. And then as far as publications go, I mean, there's McKnight's Long-Term Care News, that's always a really good resource. Health Leaders is another good one. And there's a lot of online resources that are available. The challenge is to find the time to read them all.
Now, is there anything else that you want to add that you think the class should know that I haven't mentioned?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think you did a good job of covering. It's hard to cover everything.
Right,
In a short period of
time.
time.
So, well, thank you so much for meeting with me.
You're
and,